Information, news, and entertainment on demand.
WSRadio.com. Welcome to OCC Balance, the weight loss show, with your host, Dr. Ariel Ortíz.
This is the podcast where we talk about nutrition, weight loss, wellness, health overall, and thank you for listening in. We are talking today about organic, and in a past episode we were trying to define what organic really means for you. As in commercial marketing, food, commerce, let's say, there are standards, much like there are standards in healthcare, etc. And there are seals, third-party accreditations that say, yeah, you can trust this or that claim when it's got this seal of approval. In the United States, let's say the most used seal of approval is the USDA organic or USDA 100% organic. And there's variations of this, but organic meaning that this product is more or less 95% free of pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, chemical fertilizers, dyes, irradiation, synthetic additives. You get the idea. Now, just to remember, you go to your local market and there's a very small section of organic and everything else is tainted with all those toxins. Simple as that. And today we're going to talk about a subset of foods, which is your produce. And everybody says, well, thick-skinned, thin-skinned. Well, this one doesn't absorb this much toxin. And let's set the record straight. And this is not me talking. I have an expert, in-house expert, Lucia Chavez, who's our chief nutritionist and researcher here at Obesity Control Center, a weight loss surgery destination, and the premier weight loss surgery destination. In fact, we do 7 to 10 surgeries a day, every day, for weight loss surgery for the traveling patient, mostly from the US, Canada, and sometimes other places in the planet. And she helps us out by prepping all our patients with a weight loss and detox program, a 2 to 3 week program where we detoxify the patient's body so they can start releasing all these chemicals that are prevalent in our food today. Lucia, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure, thank you.
So we're going to talk about produce. Now, produce is basically all the leafy greens, vegetables, fruits.
That's correct, vegetables and fruits.
Exactly. And why is this important? What are we facing when we buy produce on a daily basis?
Well, most of what we eat should consist basically of produce. So it is important to make the right choice. Now, we do have several choices, and it's important also to know in which scale we can purchase either one or the other. But basically, if you go to the supermarket or to the local market, preferably, right, then if you get the organic produce, that's awesome. And the way to make sure that you're getting actually an organic produce is to take a look into the small label that we usually peel off before we clean or wash out our vegetables and fruit. And if it has a 9 on it, then that's an organic produce.
Okay, can you repeat that again? So we're talking about your food that has, your produce that has a label. There's a small little patch, yellow, whatever. So it's not just an ad, it actually says something.
Yes, actually it's the standard in order to know about the farming of the product.
Okay, so for more information on these seals, we've got a really nice article on this at OCCbalance.com. And jumping into the contaminants that your typical produce has. We've said pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, chemical fertilizers, plastics. I mean, plastics. Most of your food has been in touch with plastics. Most of your produce, you go to your market, you put it in a plastic bag, you take it home, it sweats in there, and then you eat it. It heats up if you leave it in the car, and then that transfers the plastic toxins to your food. The most prevalent toxin in our food is a weed killer known as glyphosate, better known commercially as Roundup, which is the #1 contaminant in food around the world. And I was saying in the past episode that it has been directly linked to disease. There's research now around the world that correlates the growing epidemic of chronic diseases like diabetes, obesity, cancer, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, ADHD, autism, to the prevalence of the toxin in our food. Now, in the early 80s, the EPA approved the compound glyphosate, commercially known as Roundup, for use as a weed killer, and the claims were that it is non-harmful to humans. They in fact did a study, a third party did a study on rats, and all the rats got cancer after eating 2 years of Roundup, so they basically hid the study. Now, if you want to look at this research, Anthony Samsel wrote an article on this, and it's on our website. The links are there. But what I'm trying to say is that in the 80s, we knew that it was a toxic substance. We now know that it is a toxic substance in our food that kills off your intestinal bacteria. It modifies the bacteria in the soil. And it produces disease in humans, chronic insidious disease. The past episode I was talking about the prevalence of toxicity in the blood of newborn children, and over 200 compounds, cancer-causing agents, were found in the blood of newborn babies randomly in the United States.
For the first time ever.
So this is the first time that adults are going to outlive their own children. Now, if you're listening in and you don't have any children, don't worry about it. We're not talking about the health of the children if you don't have any children. We're talking about your health. If those children are exposed to toxins and they've only been in this environment for 9 months and then they were born, can you imagine how many toxins you have on a daily basis? So going back to organic is a food that has certain restrictions in order to qualify as organic.
The term organic means that you're actually avoiding 3,000 toxins and the 80% of the antibiotics that are being used in the States, not for sick people, but in order to raise meat and poultry.
So meat, poultry, porcine, we're going to go into that in the following episode. But just to close out the produce part, if you go to your local market and the section of organic is small, what do you tell patients?
Just purchase what is in there. I mean, if you're looking for something just to create that perfect recipe and you can't find the ingredient, it's not worth it to get processed food just to get that recipe. I mean, most of the problems that we have nowadays come from looking for food that it's appealing to your taste and it's convenient. But if you just use when it's available, when it's seasonal, when it's local, and even if it doesn't have the organic term, but comes from your neighbor that has an avocado tree and it lets you have that avocado, you're not going to be claiming, why isn't it that organic? So if it's wholesome food and you are creating the recipe from scratch, whatever is available is good.
And in a world of Amazon and Whole Foods teaming up, come on, there's no reason why you can't go online and order your organic food. Just to recap, folks, if you go shopping for produce, remember that most of your produce is conventional produce and it's conveniently grown. Let me tell you what happens. The soil is sprayed before it's planted. Then the seeds are submerged in pesticides, herbicides, or fungicides. Then, once it is planted, it is sprayed numerous times. Then, when the fruit comes out or the vegetable, it's sprayed again. And once it's removed or harvested, then it's in contact with plastics. It's taken to your local store. It probably certain gases or additives are added depending on what type of fruit or vegetable you're eating. And it finally ends up in your refrigerator. Now,
actually, frozen fruit, well, it's easier to find organic fruit being frozen, and it has the same nutrient quality. And you can also grow your own spices and herbs. It's not difficult.
Yeah, grow your own stuff in your backyard. Keep away from stuff that's non-organic. You have online resources. Go to occbalance.com. We've got a great set of links to websites where you can actually order organic produce. And in the next episode, we will be talking about your animal protein, animal fat, organic animals. We're talking about cow, chicken, a pig. All these different sources are actually good for you, but they should be organic. So we're going to break it down, tell you what grass-fed, grass-finished means, and all these funky terms out there. So join us for the next episode. If you want to see past episodes, go to occbalance.com, where we have a library of these interesting topics at our website. So thank you for joining us again. I am your host, Dr. Ariel Ortíz, and this is WS Radio